Welcome back to the report. Now, Muslims in the United Kingdom have often complained about misleading representations of their faith. But what do they think about it themselves? Afzal Ahmed has this report looking at that very question.
So what are Muslims thinking? This is the slogan of a Muslim news website and one that's related to a new survey that they've published. The Normative Islam report by the 5 Pillars news website looks at what 150 influential Muslims in the community thought about questions on the basic tenets of Islam and controversial topics dominating British news in relation to Islam and Muslims. 5 Pillars hope that the results will assist in educating the wider British public in understanding what mainstream Islam really is. Various Muslim scholars, academics and professionals were consulted for the report, who came from a variety of theological positions, political alignments and sectarian backgrounds. However, due to the nature of the survey, they remained anonymous.
Whilst the 150 influential British Muslims who took part in the survey, we don't know who they are for legal reasons, because they complete the survey based on the premise of anonymity. However, the 352 influential British Muslims which we compiled and gave to the market research company, we are confident that they are reflective and authoritative individuals within the British Muslim community. So I would even say that even if any of the 150 of those 352 that complete the survey is quite respectable and something to take seriously.
Questions range from theological beliefs to views on Islamic governance, the rights of men and women in Islam, jihad and citizenship. 5 Pillars say the report was important due to the ongoing debate amongst British politicians, academics and writers with regards to what constitutes as mainstream Islam.
I think it's an undeniable fact that British Muslims are not a single homogeneous group, and certainly without a single figurehead or spokesperson to speak on behalf of them. And unfortunately, this has led to, in recent years, after the 9/11 attacks and the subsequent war on terror and the tragic events that have occurred here and abroad ever since, an ongoing discussion and debate with regards to what is mainstream Islam, and more importantly, who's qualified to speak on behalf of Muslims. And inevitably, this has led to the emergence of labels, highly politicized labels, labels such as reformists, Islamists, conservative, traditionalists, liberals, moderates, and so forth.
The survey revealed a remarkable agreement on many of the 95 questions posed, something that the managing director of the company, which carried out the survey, thought was quite unique in his vast professional experience. On average, across all 95 statements, 86% strongly agreed. Statements under the heading Belief in God, Revelation, Global Humanity and Prophethood attracted the highest level. Lowest, however, but still extremely high, were recorded for the statements under the heading Citizenship, Islamic Law and Consensus, and Jihad, Extremism and Terrorism. On average, 81% or fewer were in strong agreement with these statements. Despite the fairly uniform view of the results, the report still had some methodological weaknesses. The first was a lack of qualitative space for participants to give their underlying reasons, opinions and motivations for their choices. The second was the assumption of what mainstream Islamic beliefs really were. However, it is hoped that the report will provide an empirical reference point for the media, academics and policymakers when ascertaining what qualifies as mainstream Islam. And this not just for non-Muslims, but Muslims as well. Afzal Ahmed, the report.
Well, now, joining me on the line to discuss that story is Shaykh Haitham Al-Haddad, who's from the Islamic Council of Europe. Shaykh, welcome to the programme. Do you think that this report really tells us anything that we didn't know before?
Well, John, first of all, salam alaikum to all our viewers on Islam channel. Well, this is a very intelligent question, in fact. And to be honest with you, let us make it simple. No, it doesn't tell us much. And that's why, again, to be honest with you, I did not agree with the principle of the report itself or the survey to start with. The reason is I told them that normative Islam is known, and we have sources that can tell us what normative Islam is. And even for the wider audience, for the non-Muslim community, they can go to any library, and they can pick any book about Islam, and they can see that Islam says that we believe in one God. Islam believes that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the final prophet, etc., etc. They can see all of these things. However, this shows that there is a very important output of this report, which shows that no matter Muslims or no matter where Muslims reside and no matter when Muslims live, irrespective of the time and the space, Islam remains intact. Islam remains as the original Islam, the mainstream Islam that all of us are aware of. And it also tells us that we cannot separate between British Muslims and the rest of the body of the Ummah. It also tells us that even British Muslims who are going through so many challenges, British imams and scholars, influential Muslims who are going through so many challenges, they cannot change Islam because Islam in of itself, its nature is unchangeable. There are some a few matters that are ijtihadi, but
Shaykh,
the main body of Islam cannot be changed by anyone.
So, Shaykh, even if then the report is simply, if you like, repackaging information which was available from other places, might it not have some use in the sense that it publicises a different aspect or a different view of Islam than the one that we traditionally get, certainly out of the mainstream media?
Yeah, that's the good. That is the main point. This is what I'm saying, that it reconfirms that, well, at the end of the day, this is what all Muslims believe in, okay? And it confirms that British Muslims still believe in the traditional Islam as you expressed it, the traditional Islam that was practiced during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And not only that, but it confirms that the British Muslims are nothing but part of the Muslim body of the Muslim Ummah. They cannot manipulate the deen. They cannot change the religion of Islam. They cannot reform the religion of Islam, and they don't own Al-Islam. Al-Islam is a religion that is owned by Muslims in general, by the Ummah in general.
Shaykh, do you think that the fact that we don't know who was asked in the report to contribute to the report, I mean, you told us you were asked and you didn't feel it was an appropriate thing to do, but we don't know who else was asked. So do you think that's a weakness, that we don't know exactly whose views are being representative as normative?
I don't think, to be honest with you, that it is a weakness. Okay, let us put it like this, okay? Let us put it like this. Let us say that this is one of the critiques against this report and against any other report. They might say, well, selected people were consulted, yes? But other people, like maybe secular Muslims or maybe certain organizations, were not consulted, yeah? Then we will say, okay, fair enough. So this is the outcome of this particular report where selected people were consulted. Now show us another report that represents those Muslims whom you claim that they were not consulted. And let us compare between both reports, and let us compare between the outcome of this report and the outcome of the other report in the context of the Ummah itself, in the context of what the Quran and the Sunnah, the main sources of Islam, would say. It is not about my word against your word. Islam doesn't work like this because, listen, there are so many ignorant Muslims down there. They don't know anything about Islam. So will they consider to be the people who represent Islam? No, it doesn't work like this. Yeah? So we say that, well, we have our own sources and we have our legacy. And I think Brother Dill put it profoundly during the press conference that Islam has been there for 1400 years. We have a long history, a long legacy, and Islam has been the same, almost the same, throughout these 1400 years ago. We cannot come all of a sudden a few Muslims living in Britain can just change Islam all of a sudden like this. It doesn't work like this at all.
Sheikh, do you think that the report will get picked up by the press? Do you think it has been picked up by the press? And if it is, do you think it will serve to counter some of the mainstream images, the not very favourable mainstream images that you get from the rest of the press?
To be honest with you, I don't think that it will be picked up by the media, by the press. The fact that it reconfirms what the vast majority of Muslims or the mainstream of Muslims are telling the media, that this is our religion, this is our Islam. We are not extremists, we are not radicals. And that's why it will not be a story that can be sold to the media. But imagine, for example, imagine if the report came and said, well, the vast or these imams confirmed that, well, Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not the final prophet, and we need to be tolerant towards those who do not believe in the prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him. For example, imagine the report came and said, well, Islam does not mind having a sexual relationship outside marriage. Yes?
I'm sure there'd be a lot more publicity for that point.
Exactly.
Well, Sheikh, thanks very much for joining us, but I'm going to have to stop you there because we've run out of time. That was Shaykh Haitham Al-Haddad joining us. But on that note, we're going to have to end this episode of The Report. I want to thank my guests on today's programme. Thank you for taking the time to watch. You can keep up with us on Twitter by following @IslamChannelCA and by using the hashtag The Report. But we'll leave you with some film of a fast-growing tumbleweed known as hairy panic, which has taken over streets in the Australian rural town of Wangaratta, with homes clogged with the weed, leaving many residents frustrated. Well, we'll be blowing into town tomorrow at the same time. But until then, good night.